Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Just nice to be with all of you here this morning. Just nice to be with you. Just wonderful to be in this wonderful spirit that we have, knowing that we assist each other in our growth. And as we do so, we help so many other people. Also, of course, the evolution of our species and of our planet. Just good to be with you. A few announcements before we begin today. First of all, we will have our testimonial this evening. Barbara Vaxon will be sharing her inspirational testimonial. It'll be from 6 to 7:30 this evening. Please join us if you're able to do so. Also, tomorrow evening, we'll be having our Monday meditation. Our sessions have been wonderful. Please feel very comfortable to join us. And then lastly, of course, I hope you enjoyed the first report from our Cosmic Citizens Committee. It's been quite an enjoyment for all of us to be able to present this information. I hope you'll have a chance to read it, to enjoy it, and especially I want to thank Myra for all of the beautiful pictures that she was able to put to our script. Having said that, let me begin by saying that it's really been a joy for me personally to receive the many positive comments about the present series of teachings that we've been experiencing, namely how we can learn from those who have had a near-death experience, especially focusing on how we can live tomorrow, today. Last week's teaching on the continuity of life was especially well received. It focused on three continuities: the continuity of consciousness, the continuity of our thoughts and emotions, and the continuity of learning and growth. This week's teaching will also focus on another continuity, the continuity of life itself, because it focuses on the question that so many people have, namely, is there life beyond the physical life here on the planet? Well, I will begin with the idea of the continuity of life after death. There are four other issues that the near-deathers have experienced that are also quite powerful, and I will treat each of them as well. Let's begin, however, with the very important information that the near-deathers have experienced. Unequivocally, as you would certainly obviously think, the near-deathers have clearly claimed the continuity of life after one's physical passing. The continuity of life after one's physical passing. However, what has been of even greater worth is the richness of the implications of life after death. The first thing noted by the near-death experiences is not just that there is life after physical death, but also there was life prior to your present life, and that there will be life after the present one, because each of us is an eternal soul, because each one of us is an eternal consciousness. This teaching clearly focuses on the fact that what survives physical death is not the physical body, but rather the eternal consciousness of the soul that is comprised of our thoughts, emotions, and our sense of self. All of the things that the eternal soul has become, with the addition, all of the things the eternal soul has become with the addition of what we have contributed to our soul's growth in our present lifetime. We have contributed to our soul's growth. This notion of soul growth is new for some of you, because we're not used to defining ourselves simply by our soul. We think much more of life as our physical body and its place in the material world. Yet little by little, we are beginning to realize that the soul's acquisition of experience is what we are doing here. We are acquiring growth for our soul. That our soul is growing through the new experiences that we are adding in our present life. And when we physically pass, the soul, our sense of self, will not only continue to exist, but also, oh boy, hold on, but also will continue to expand, whether to be reincarnated here on the earth or to advance to another plane. I said there's a lot of richness to this teaching. The continuity of life is quite exciting, and it has an incredibly important point for each one of us, namely, that what we are doing here on the earth is adding to the soul's presence for its future development. We are adding to the eternal growth of our soul. This is quite an understanding to have, to realize that our present soul identity is the sweet spot of our lives. You know this. You feel this. You are so much more than your body. You are really beginning to feel this soul presence and focus on its knowing and its growth and its growth. And honestly, just honestly, is not our true communication soul to soul? Isn't that our true communication, soul to soul? Is not our true communication a sharing of our thoughts, our emotions, our experiences? Is this not true? We are most who we are when we share soul to soul with each other, what we think, what we're feeling, what makes sense to us. We are sharing more and more our soul identities, what we have become in our inner selves. And how absolutely joyful, not only to understand that the soul does survive, that we are adding to its growth here and now. That's what we are doing here. The next time someone says, "What are you doing here?" please tell them, "Well, I'm adding to the growth of my soul." And so are you. As I mentioned at the beginning, there are 4 other teachings about the continuity of life, which are also very relevant than simply the continuity of the soul. So let's now focus on the rest of these. The first of the 4 beautifully conceived understandings concerns the understanding of the continuity of life beyond the physical body is an enormous release. The continuity of life beyond the physical body is an enormous release. Actually, there are 2 releases. You can decide which one is the more important for you. The first release. The first release, obviously, is the release of the fear of dying. For eons, many people have feared the process of dying, as well as the uncertainty if anything does exist beyond physical death. The near-deathers have given us a very clear understanding of this release of the fear of passing. Whatever the process of death, whether it be sudden or a lingering process, it is quite clear that when the physical death to the body occurs, there is a clear movement of the soul to life beyond the physical body. at which time we take with us what our soul has become. We take with us the present consciousness of our soul, which are our thoughts, our emotions, and our sense of self. Two things become very important, each of which can help us to understand this process of passing so much better. The first is that each soul passes at its prescribed time, not a minute sooner or a minute later. And most of all, the soul passes only when it sees fit, not necessarily on your timeline, and certainly not on the timelines of others. The second aspect of understanding is that no one knows, in a sense, what the soul has to complete here in its earthly sojourn, especially inasmuch as the soul is also in communication with other souls during the process of its passing. This last point is very important, and it calls to mind a very good friend of mine, a very enlightened soul, who felt that her passing was not meant just for her, but for the several others who would be affected by her passing. Souls communicate with other souls for a much greater meaning. I believe her statement to be absolutely true, that the passing of a soul is not just about them, but also the message that their passing has for those of us who remain here to continue our lives on earth. What a valuable piece of information this is. But as I mentioned, there is a second release that is of enormous importance, in addition to the release of the fear of death. The second release. The second release reported by those who have had a near-death experience is the release from material things. In my opinion, this second release matches the importance of the first one, because so many people are still very materialistically minded. I am certainly not saying that material things are unimportant, and certainly we need many material things to continue our earthly lives. But the near-deathers are quite clear that a dependency on such material things is fruitless and useless. Fruitless and useless. Let me explain. It is fruitless. It is fruitless because it is so easy to worry about how you look and what you have, oftentimes neglecting how kind you are and how loving you are. I would say that many of us are very much learning this lesson. We have come to understand that all you really take with you are the inner qualities that you have experienced, the goodness, the kindness, supported by the true intelligence and wisdom to really understand that it is the inner self that we take with us. And how wonderful it is to experience that great joy in our present lives, that we might see ourselves described in the following way, that we might do as much good as we can, as long as we can, to as many people as we can. This is such an important thing. The first fruit of life is the extension of love. The first fruit of life is the extension of love. Most of the other stuff is fruitless. Secondly, materialism, excessive dependence on stuff and things, is also useless. Useless. Such materialism will often lead to comparing yourself to others, so easily done. And someone will always have more than you and more than your stuff. And you realize that your stuff is not going to be very fulfilling. But it's also true, put in these words, that a Brinks truck and a moving van, do not follow your hearse to the cemetery. Meaning that, obviously, you don't take stuff with you. This is such an important lesson for us to learn. What you take with you is the consciousness of your soul. It's what you have become, your thoughts, emotions, your sense of self. Please do not forget this. Don't let the stuff weigh you down. It's baggage that is fruitless and useless. The second of the four things about the continuity of life is quite delightful. The second thing is that we will encounter deceased loved ones. We will encounter deceased loved ones. Such meetings are very much anticipated by so many of us, because the question that many of us have is, well, will I be able to join again with those who have preceded me in passing? And of course, my loved ones, my partners, my children, my parents, and even our pets. While the near-deathers pretty much agree that you will meet your loved ones when you transition, there are two other considerations. There are two other considerations that are quite important, each one of which carries a wisdom with it. Take a breath, relax. Let me suggest these two things. The first one is that there are greeters on the other side. Just as you have greeters in church, there are greeters on the other side. These are the souls who are there upon your arrival, who will assist you and guide you in your new life. This is quite a revelation. Specifically, the greeters will assist you from the place where you are when you have passed. This is such a helpful service, clearly understanding that your soul life has not ended, but will continue in the non-physical plane that are often called the astral realms. We talked about that last week. But there is a second thing to consider. As there has been the passage of time from when your loved one has passed, and just as you have moved on in your life by sheer necessity, if not by choice, so also your loved one has moved on in their soul life. I'm going to repeat this. As there has been a passage of time from when your loved one has passed, and just as you have moved on in your life either by necessity or by choice. So also, the loved one has moved on in their soul life. This is an important thing to understand. It's not as though the past times are diminished, but rather the future holds progress for everyone. Such progress is up to each soul, but progress, growth, development will be your future as well, as it has been for those who have preceded you in your passing. They are not just waiting around looking down on us. They too are moving on in their soul growth, as we will have ours. Such a future will certainly hold the memories of the past, but yet point to an exciting future of the growth of our souls. Again, quite an understanding to have. The third of the four additional things about the continuity of life is to help you or invite you to inform others of a life beyond. Surely this will be good news for many people to hear, although each person will hear the message from their own perspective. But the larger message for all of us to hear is that our future lives are being determined by the consciousness that we are developing here and now on the planet. This is a big point, that our future lives are being formed by our growth and development here now on the planet. Again, you can only be the messenger of such possibilities, but it is important to do so. It's important to do so, to release others from the fear of death, from excessive materialism, and to point them on the road of kindness and creativity, so that they too will come to understand what they really take with them is the state of consciousness that they have arrived at the moment of their passing. It's good news for others, and it's very helpful for them. In conclusion, you'll probably notice that I only mentioned 3 of the 4 things that are associated with the continuity of life. There is a reason. There is one other thing about the continuity of life that stands alone and has enormous implications for all of us. That will be next week's teaching. Let me say again, though, it's such a joy to share these teachings with you, enabling the experiences of the near-deathers to illumine our own experiences here. As always, take with you what speaks to you. Some things are only meant for later. With that in mind, let us now move into meditation, and what a great joy it is to do so with you. Let's begin. The continuity of life, prior, here, and beyond. Let us begin as we normally do by simply focusing on the breath, allowing the breath to calm us, to settle us, and to bring our souls to the fore. Please begin. And would you just say to yourself, here I am again. Here I am again. But today, as a result of this teaching, there seems to be more of us present. There seems to be a bigger I present as you right now. Would you simply focus in on this inner you, that bigger I? There are certain things that are very important to know, but oftentimes we can't know them when our minds are too busy. Life is too hectic, and when we're simply by ourselves. We can only know these things when we stop, feel, experience with others. And then you clearly know that you are so much more than simply your physical body. But you have to stop, slow down, feel, know. The eternal you. Right now, at this moment, in your eternal you, death has not too much to do with you. You are alive. Physical death to the body, but not to you. Not to you. You might say that, well, I think I want to stay here as long as I feel like staying here. Why don't you consider that a possibility? Stay here as long as you desire. In the continuity of your soul. Live from your soul. It's eternal. Please don't get caught up in stuff. Stuff is fruitless and useless. But kindness, creativity, intelligence, love, wisdom, fruitful and useful. Now, one has to admit that when one passes to be greeted, wow, that would be nice. We are greeted by family when we are born. Kind of makes sense that we are greeted by others when we pass. Changing venues. We need others to help us get used to things for a little bit. And especially to recognize, be with, feel the energy of those that we have loved. understanding that they might have changed in their future, just as we have changed in ours. Just understanding that. But here's the fun part. Why not communicate with them now? Why wait? You might say, how do you do that? By remembering that your love and feelings for them, your soul awareness, connects with their soul awareness. To those who are aware, the continuity is here and now.
Peace resides, faith honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. When you are where you need to be, within that space, I honor thee. Seen through eyes an illusion, seen through spirit, we are one. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor thee. Namaste. I honor
It's a great joy to share these teachings with you. May I simply suggest that we continue to do what is fruitful and useful, kindness and goodness, serving the bigger picture. Namaste.